This episode is brought to you by Ursa Minor Outfitters. Folks, I'm absolutely in love with my loon mug. It's handmade, it's an absolute piece of art. Whether it's at the office or at the house, people keep asking to check it out. If you're not a loon fan, they also have other beautiful mugs for wildlife fans of moose, bears, and eagles. They specialize in products highlighting the outdoors and local pride through quality design by local artists. They've even started expanding into items beyond mugs, like apparel, dog accessories, and soon candles and more. They also try to partner and highlight other small businesses, and in some cases, forego profits in lieu of charitable giving to help their community, such as the dog rescue. So check them out, ursaminorouttfitters.com, and enter promo code HikesMikes10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order. And for our four-legged hiking partners, they also have a portable silicone dog bowl and also a sweet over-the-collar dog bandana. Go check them out, ursaminorouttfitters.com, and don't forget to enter promo code HikesMikes10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order. Welcome, everyone, to a special bonus episode of the Hikes and Mikes podcast. I'm your host, Ivan, and occasionally I'll be bringing you some bonus episodes highlighting some amazing individuals who are participating in some fun outdoor events or helping some incredible nonprofits, as well as some up-and-coming outdoor companies. In this episode, we have the pleasure of talking to Lauren and Kris, two passionate individuals dedicated to making a difference in the fight against childhood cancer. Lauren, the Community Engagement Manager at CureSearch, plays a vital role in organizing the incredible Ultimate Hikes events. These events are not just breathtaking outdoor adventures, they also raise funds to support CureSearch's mission of finding cures for childhood cancer, the leading cause of death by disease in children. Chris, the COO of Connect Hike, has a personal connection to the cause. Not only did he participate as a hiker in the Central Texas Ultimate Hike, but he will also be volunteering at the PCT Ultimate Hike event and hiking the Ultimate Hike Fall event on the Foothills Trail. Together, Lauren and Kris share their insights on CureSearch's mission and the impact of Ultimate Hikes in advancing research and providing hope for families affected by childhood cancer. They also give us a glimpse into what participants can expect when they join one of these awe-inspiring and impactful events. Be sure to check out the episode show notes to learn more about CureSearch and their Ultimate Hikes events across the country. Without further ado, let's dive right into this episode featuring our guests, Lauren and Kris. Welcome, everyone, to the latest bonus episode of the Hikes and Mikes podcast. I'm really excited to have these two individuals with me today to talking about an amazing event and nonprofit that has some incredible events across the United States that are outdoor focused that give back to an amazing organization and cause. We have Lauren and Kris. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to talk about the Ultimate Hike and CureSearch. But for listeners that haven't had a chance to follow you guys on social media, can you share a little bit about yourselves and how you got started hiking?
So this is Kris. So I've been hiking for about 20 years now. I actually found roughing first. That kind of morphed into hiking because concrete is really boring. And yeah, just have a passion for hiking and really looking forward to turning day hiking into through hiking and long distance hiking is really my jam.
I'm Lauren, and I am the Community Engagement Manager at CureSearch. I got into hiking really probably about 6 years ago. I was going through a little bit of a rough patch in life and needed some ways to go through that healthy. And I actually found the Ultimate Hike and signed up for a 21-mile hike in our national forest and decided I should probably train for it and fell in love. So now I go all around the country and I'm really happy anytime I can get out on the trail.
You know, you guys are based out of Texas, and before we get going on the Ultimate Hike and CureSearch, I'm always interested in finding out what the trail systems and hikes are like in and around your local neck of the woods.
I'm in the Austin area, which, we have some really amazing hikes in the Austin area for being Texas and not really being super mountainous around us. We've got quite a few canyons that are just a blast to get out and hike. Yeah, lots and lots of canyons. That's my favorite place to go is get off into the little canyons that are hidden all around Austin.
I am not as fortunate, but in Houston, we are not too far from the Piney Woods. So if you're familiar with the Sam Houston National Forest or have heard of it, it's where the Lone Star Hiking Trail is. It's beautiful to me, very flat, but very lush pine, soft forest floor. So it's really kind to your feet for those long miles.
Yeah, the more I hear about the Texas hiking trails and what's being done out in Texas, the more diverse it seems as far as hiking and landscapes. Now, you guys were able to reach out to me and through the research, finding out what the Ultimate Hike is and the great things that you guys are doing. It sounds like an incredible event from what I've read in research. Can you share a little bit about it and how it kind of came about for our listeners?
CureSearch for Children's Cancer is the organization, and Ultimate Hike is our signature fundraising event. We've been around for actually 30 years. We started out as like a sub nonprofit that worked with the federal government and did a lot of federal funding and kind of larger governmental grants. And then about 15 years ago, we broke away from that and got really strategic in the research we were funding. And around the same time, we created the Ultimate Hike. So it's actually been around for quite a while, but they're endurance hiking events that take place throughout the country. We actually have 7 hikes, with Central Texas being one of them. And then we have 2 on the Foothills Trail in South Carolina, our Superior Hiking Trail Ultimate Hike, the Pacific Crest Trail Ultimate Hike, Shenandoah Valley, and then also our newest Ultimate Hike, which is in Jackson Hole, just outside the Grand Tetons.
And Kris, you were able to already participate in one of this year's Ultimate Hikes in doing the Central Texas Ultimate Trail Hike. How was that experience, and how did you come across this amazing organization and event?
It really was such an amazing experience. I was told about it. I run a Austin, Texas-based, or help run an Austin, Texas-based hiking club, and a San Antonio hiking club that hiked the Central Texas Hike last year reached out just to say like, hey, I think you might be interested in this. And, so got me connected with Lauren, and we were supposed to just have like a 10-minute introductory call. And like an hour and a half later, I was signed up for the hike and started fundraising. And I'm so glad that I didn't let the fundraising piece of it intimidate me out of it, because it was just such an incredible experience.
And for the Central Texas Ultimate Trail Hike, how was the trail system itself and the experience of that day for you?
So they actually do it on the Goodwater Loop around Lake Georgetown, so just north of the Austin area. And it's one of my favorite trails to get out on anyways. I've been hiking out there for years. They call it playing the dragon when you hike the whole thing. It's a 26.6 mile loop around the lake, and very, very rocky and fairly technical on your foot placement. So it's a blast to hike, and everybody who's done the whole thing, like, you get a little extra respect out of it.
Call the limestone the cheese grater. I'll send you a photo. So the limestone rocks, like, I think at one point they were talking about it on the trail this year that this part of Texas was part of the ocean billions of years ago. And so the rock is, it looks like Swiss cheese. I tell hikers that there's some soft, floor in between, but it's a little few and far between.
Out of the 26 plus miles, there's maybe a quarter mile that's not just hard rock.
We do it in the springtime, and there's bluebonnets galore. Yeah. So the wildflowers make up for it.
And for the Texas hike, do you guys recall how many participants you had come out on that day?
Yeah, we had 40 hikers on the trail and then 6 coaches. So part of our program not only is the endurance hiking event, but we also provide 12 weeks of expert training. So we have coaches in some of our major cities and virtually that will help anyone from avid hikers to beginners who have never hiked before, get ready for the event. So they'll be leading group hikes about starting 12 weeks out. So you get to really build community ahead of time before you go take on this really challenging adventure. And it's pretty awesome because by the end of the weekend, you're Ultimate Hike family for sure.
Yeah, get to build out the community before the event and kind of have those relationships already in place by the time people hit the trails is incredible. Now, guys, we're recording this episode in the middle of May, and I know a few of the events have already passed, but there's still quite a few that folks can sign up for the rest of the year. Which ones are still available for hikers to be able to sign up in their local communities?
It is a little close. If you are an experienced hiker, though, you'd be very well prepared. We have 21 miles on the Pacific Crest Trail on June 29th. That's still open for registration. And following that, we will have our Superior Hiking Trail Ultimate Hike, which is 25.5 miles. That takes place August 24th this year. And then after that, we have Jackson Hole, which is 18 miles, a little bit different, elevation and things like that. So it's actually our shortest ultimate hike. And that is September 21st. And then our Fall Foothills Ultimate Hike is November 2nd this year. And that's 23 miles on the Foothills Trail.
And Kris, correct me if I'm wrong, but you signed up for another event later on this year, is that right?
I did. Actually, so Lauren reached out to me not that long ago and they were looking for some volunteers. So I'm actually going to volunteer at the PCT hike. And then I am signed up for the Fall Foothills. I want to do it again and really excited to do that trail. I've never done the Foothills Trail. I know it's just absolutely gorgeous. And then a team out of St. Louis, Missouri actually invited me to be on their team. Their leader was down at the Central Texas hike. And like she said, it becomes such a family. So immediately got invited and put on that team. So I'm fundraising with folks out of St. Louis, Missouri, and we'll be hiking with them in November.
Oh, that's awesome. And Lauren, you've already mentioned that CureSearch is the nonprofit that these Ultimate Hike events are benefiting. Now, the money raised through the Ultimate Hike events, can you tell us a little bit about the CureSearch mission and the impact these funds and fundraising events are making on pediatric cancer research?
Our mission is to end childhood cancer by driving targeted and innovative research in an accelerated time frame. And we're actually really good at it. We're a very small, pretty much grassroots organization. We have 15 employees. We work really hard at making our events really successful. But what makes us unique is the way that we strategically choose research projects. So just a little bit of history about childhood cancer in the United States. Every day, 42 kids are diagnosed with cancer, and that is too many. On top of that, treatments are decades old. So when I first got involved around 6 years ago, it was the 80s. We've transitioned now to the 90s. So almost all childhood cancer treatments are 25 plus years old, and they're very toxic. So out of all of those kids, 2 out of 3 of them will go on to have lifelong devastating effects. And that's where we are trying to make an impact. So we are very unique with our funding strategy and our focuses by not only focusing on underserved and unmet needs of childhood cancer treatment, but we also focus on the rarest cancers with the lowest survival rates. We have a scientific advisory council. So we pull people from pharma, the FDA, scientists, some of the best researchers, and they're all on these committees that funnel through research. What makes us unique is that advisory council, but also because we're able to be so strategic, we are actually funding research that's 7 times more likely to make it to clinical trials compared to the national average, which is around 2 times, and we're doing it faster. So the national average is around 6.5 years, and we're getting treatment to the bedside of kids in around 4 years.
That's amazing. I feel like here in the United States especially, I think it's very seldom that you don't find somebody that's been impacted by cancer in some form or way, whether it's family members, friends. There's a lot of great organizations that do fundraising and events for specific types of cancer, especially when it comes to adult cancer research. But I feel like there's not too many, at least that I'm aware of, that are focused on childhood cancer. Can you elaborate a little bit more about the problem and why CureSearch's work is so critical in that field?
So not only are the treatments decades old, but also the federal government funds less than 10% of pediatric cancer research. So we are heavily reliant on nonprofits and private funding to actually move forward in finding better treatments. One thing we're unique about is we call it bridging the gap. So in the research world, there is a lot of money and time and science put into academia and basic kind of introductory research where they're at the university level, coming up with ideas and looking at things. And the federal government, that's where most of their focus and funding goes. And then on the flip side of that, the pharmaceutical industry rightfully funds research that's likely to make it to market, right? They're going to invest their money in trials that are going most likely to advance to a drug treatment for adults or children in any industry. But where CureSearch is unique is we're bridging that gap. So we focus on translational research. One of our doctors actually recently said without CureSearch, his research would have gone into this translational gap and died. And now he's actually accepting patients at clinical trial in Augusta, Georgia. So he is actually like really unique in that we funded him early on and now we're funding him again and he's accepting patients. But back to that translational research gap. So a lot of times it just goes there and then there's nothing they can do. They have no funding. They're fighting for their own, money to try to advance this research. And that's where we focus all of our funding to.
Lauren, the statistic on how many children develop a chronic health issue after treatment is really shocking. And that's one thing that's kind of been sticking in my mind through this conversation with you. And I think that just shows the need for better treatment options. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit more on what some of those chronic health conditions that these children are developing post-treatment?
Yeah, so the 42 kids diagnosed every day in the United States alone, 2 out of 3 of them will go on to develop chronic health conditions that are lifelong. It's at least one, but a lot of times it's multiple health conditions that they're facing throughout the entirety of their life, anywhere from musculoskeletal problems to secondary cancers, renal failure, infertility, all kinds of things. A lot of times you might, go into remission and then 5 years later you're diagnosed with another cancer from the treatment. So working through that is where our focus is in reducing that statistic and making it so not only does no child have to be diagnosed with cancer, but in the event that they are, we're able to treat them more safely and effectively and increase the quality of their life rather than impede it just to save it.
Kudos to CureSearch and the amazing work that they're doing to help reduce that number of children impacted, but also trying to eliminate cancer to begin with so people don't develop those chronic health issues. Now, this Ultimate Hike event sounds like an amazing opportunity for our listeners and the community who love the outdoors to make a real difference in the fight against childhood cancer. How can folks get involved and learn more about these events that are happening across the country?
We are on social media. We have Instagram, Facebook, and you can follow us there. Ultimate Hike on Instagram, CureSearch on Instagram. And then to learn more about our research, I gotten much better at talking about it, but I am not a scientist, but we're very transparent online. So CureSearch.org, you can find more about all of our current funding projects. We have them all throughout the country. We just announced 4 more this year, with more on the way. And we actually are also partnering with an organization in Rome. So we're not just national anymore. We're kind of global at this point with our research. So CureSearch.org is a great way to learn more about the science and see what we're doing on that aspect. And then ultimatehike.org is a great place to learn all about our hiking programs and what we have going on around the country, more details about the trail, where they are, the mileage, our training, and all of that.
And for our listeners, be sure to check out the episode show notes because we'll provide a list of all the links that Lauren and Kris discuss on today's episode. And not just for Kris, but Lauren, I'd also like to hear your advice. Kris, as somebody who's already participated in one event and is going to participate in other events as a volunteer and as a hiker, do you have any tips or advice for listeners interested in participating in the Ultimate Hike that can help them have a successful Ultimate Hike experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Biggest piece of advice that I can give is like, don't be intimidated by it, by either the hike distance or the fundraising itself, and then get involved. Like Lauren and her team, and then the volunteer coaches and stuff really provide all the support that you need. I signed up for the Central Texas hike pretty late in the game. I think I was like 7 weeks prior to the event, something like that. So, it was a little bit of a scramble to hit that pledge for fundraising, but I got all the support I could need through, info sessions that were fantastic to answer any questions that I had. They did some Zoom calls to help, give everybody ideas for how to fundraise. They even did a fundraising letter writing Zoom together to help everybody write letters. And then the online social media part of it is huge too, because they've got a huge alumni network that, these people have done the fundraising before, they've done the hikes before, and they're so happy to reach out and help people reach those goals. So that's my biggest advice, is just don't be intimidated by it. Like, it is very, very doable. And like I said, like I'm signed up for more. I've started building the goal of eventually doing all the hikes in a year. Like, I think that would be a blast to do. And really, like, as I get more comfortable with the fundraising, I think it's totally doable. And then I can't reiterate enough how much of a community aspect that you get out of the event. Like I said, I joined really late. I was able to make 2 training hikes and really didn't even kind of do it with those guys all that much. And so most of my experience was mainly hike weekend and then those Zoom calls. And I got to tell you, like, they welcomed me with open arms. The Friday night dinner before the hike event is such an incredible experience that I want everybody who loves to hike for a cause to experience this event. It's so incredibly powerful.
Yeah, and it just shows, like, you doing one event and now potentially doing another 3 by the end of the year. It just shows the community that you were able to be a part of and grow within, just the impact it's had on you. Lauren, for you, and Kris mentioned this already, that he's volunteering at one event. What are some other ways that folks can participate and help out with the Ultimate Hike or with CureSearch, whether it's volunteer work, advocacy work? What are some of the other ways that they can get involved?
Ultimate Hike is our biggest fundraising event, but it's certainly not the only one that we have. We have some walks throughout the country. We have a Colorado walk, a Salt Lake City walk, and a Charlottesville walk. And then we also have something called our Gold Events. So that is anything you would like to do to fundraise for CureSearch. We will support you in doing that. We have a really awesome fundraising platform. So if you said, I wanted to have a cornhole tournament this weekend in September with all of my friends, and I want all of the funds to go to CureSearch, then we will help get that set up for you. That's something we do. And we know that endurance hikes aren't necessarily for everyone. So while the ultimate hikes might be anywhere from 18 to almost 30 miles, we have created community hikes throughout the country. And we're always encouraging people to set those up where they're kind of shorter miles on different trails that are maybe closer to your hometown or closer to somewhere you just really want to go do an awesome group hike to raise money for pediatric cancer research. Our community engagement staff is always happy to set those up. And we have quite a few of them actually, even on our website, St. Louis, they do a community hike, and those are open to the public too. So you can always check there and see if there's one in your area or start one. And then we are always looking for volunteers. We recently just, as I've mentioned, we're fairly grassroots, right? We're really trying to grow and become more known throughout the country. A lot of people were very research focused. And so we're trying to get our name more known and through our events and things like that. But we're also launching community leadership boards across the country and all of our strategic cities where we have ultimate hikes and walks and things like that. So if you're really interested in volunteering or being part of a leadership board and helping, build out communities across the country, you can get involved that way. And then our hike weekend volunteers, I personally think work harder than the hikers. As somebody who has hiked and coached and is now staff, our hike weekend volunteers are the most amazing people. We didn't share too much about the weekend, so I'll share a little bit about that with you now. When you register for the event, I mentioned the training, but we also give you an entire weekend experience. So while it is a one-day hike, we are fully going to support you. So you'll actually come Friday night and check in, and we have that awesome kickoff dinner where you get to kind of meet everybody that has come really from all across the country and why we're all there. And then Saturday morning, we'll wake you up, and it is usually dark outside. So we always say, we'll see you dark and early, and we will get you to the trailhead. And then we fully support you. So our volunteers, we have medical volunteers as well, but you'll come into an aid station and you can get your feet taped. You can get whatever snack you might need. You can get electrolytes. You can take a nap. You can use our massage guns. We don't encourage the naps, but you can if you wanted to. But it's like fully supported, more than anyone can ever imagine. And then we also, have dinner that night, and then a huge awards breakfast on Sunday. So it's a really awesome way to celebrate the hard work that our hikers are doing.
Oh man, that's a full weekend of just amazing opportunities and camaraderie with the hiking community. And I'm glad you touched base on it, Lauren, kind of give an idea of what hikers can expect on that weekend. Kris, I'm interested in hearing your experience a little bit more on the Central Texas event. Do you remember what time you started the hike and what time you ended it?
I'm going to back up just a little bit from the start of hike weekend. My schedule worked out that I was actually able to kind of come hang out with the staff for a day and then kind of see the volunteers as they came in. And so like I really kind of got to experience a lot more than just as a hiker. It was such a great experience, and that's why I'm volunteering for another hike, just because I got to see kind of behind the scenes and how much work people are putting into it. So like that part was huge. And then the Friday dinner, again, super special event. I think it was like a 3:30 wake up on Saturday morning. So, bright and early, had vans waiting for us. I don't know what time the staff and volunteers got up, but it was definitely before I did. And they had the vans out there waiting for us. And really you get such a feeling of gratitude from the staff and volunteers as a hiker. The entire event doesn't feel like a fundraiser. It just feels like a giant thank you for the fundraising that you did to get you to the hike. They really go so above and beyond to just make you feel welcome and special and important and fully supported at the event. I think we got to the trail by like 4:30, somewhere in there. Pretty early, maybe 5. I don't know. I slept since then. I'm a fairly quick hiker, so I was in one of the last starting groups. And so I got to see all these other groups starting. They kind of break it up so it's not just a big bubble going around the trail. And so that was a special experience too, watching everybody get to start their hikes, and the huge send-off from the staff and volunteers at the start line. And then, walking into the aid stations and seeing, all sorts of chairs set up and coolers with drinks and all that. And it's like, there's not a whole lot of staff and volunteers out there. Like, you can tell how hard they are working. And so even just coming into an aid station, like, it's a special experience. Like, they're clapping as you're coming in and supporting you along the way. And I don't know if I should blow the surprise, but at the last aid station, there's a special surprise for you that really impactful. And then the finish line it's an emotional event at the finish line, not because of the hike. And really, like, I don't even want to ruin the surprise of what the finish line is like. I don't know many people that weren't in tears by the time they got to the finish line, but really special. And the staff and the volunteers, like I said, like, I can't even praise them enough for how hard they work and how special they make the event.
One thing that I'm interested in finding out, because of the aid stations and being able to have access to different drinks and amenities, what is the recommended pack list like for an event like this?
So we do make sure safety is like our number one focus all throughout the day. And we always encourage, hikers to hike their own hike and really focus on listening to their, what's working for them that day. But our packing list, you definitely have to have a headlamp. You're starting dark and early. You're going to keep that on you all day. We will start you dark and early, but we're going to make sure you're off the trail by nightfall for safety purposes, because at that point you've been on the trail for, 14 plus hours. And then your water. I am a water bladder person, so I tell people to carry, 2 liters of water at least. But at those aid stations, you will come in, you will sit down, somebody's refilling it, someone's handing you snacks. Like, we have ultimate pickles and all kinds of fun things going on. You won't even have time to like really realize that you're like back and ready to go on the trail within, 5 to 10 minutes. So I always tell people to, make sure they keep their electrolytes and some snacks handy, because fuel is what's going to make or break that endurance hike. And then we also have comfort bags. So at every aid station, instead of having to carry it on you all day, you can have a bag waiting for you at each aid station with those essential items that you might not want on your pack. So your snacks you might prefer, special drink you might want, change of clothes, extra socks. I definitely recommend changing your socks, but anything you really might need. And then at the finish line, you can have your slippers and your finish line comfort bag so you can get out of your hiking boots and just kick back and relax. In Texas, we had pizza, so it was really like a party at the finish line.
And Lauren, one more time, if folks are interested in learning more about how they can get involved with not just the Ultimate Hike events, but also CureSearch, what are some of the places online that they could find out more about the events and the work that you guys are doing?
We're really active on Instagram. So CureSearch is our Instagram for kind of the science side of things and what we're doing organizationally as a whole. And then Ultimate Hike also has at Ultimate Hike for that part of Instagram. And then ultimatehike.org is a great place to learn more about Ultimate Hike. And it'll also link you back to CureSearch and all of our research and what we're doing as an organization.
And like I said, we'll be sure to make sure that those links are in the episode show notes so people can check them out. Really great talking with you guys about the Ultimate Hike and the great work that CureSearch is doing. These last couple questions are our fun questions that we like to ask everybody. And this is for both of you. But when it comes to regular routines on the hikes, whether it's a summit routine, maybe a end of the hike routine, for some it's packing their favorite snack or their favorite beverage. For others, it's a moment of zen or a favorite meal afterwards. Is there a regular customer routine that each of you do once you make it to your destination, or maybe once you make it back out?
I don't really have a ritual outside of telling myself like, hey, I should probably stretch, and then getting in my car without stretching. That's, pretty much a guarantee. And then, as far as like a post-hike meal, like I love a good hamburger after a hike. There's actually two of the state parks here in Texas. I specifically go hike out there for the burger afterwards. It's so incredible. Shout out to the Roadhouse in Bastrop. It's amazing hamburger. That's my ritual is to not stretch and then eat like crap.
I'm kind of similar. I really like a good candy waiting, when I get back to the car. So nerd ropes are my favorite thing to eat post hike. And the first thing I do is take off my shoes and let my feet be free. So outside of hiking, you will only find me in sandals. I'm the strange Texan that wears sandals when it's 40 degrees out. So if my hiking boots, as soon as I can, I get those off, free my feet, and eat a nerd's rope. That's my favorite thing to do.
I love them both. Now, this next one is a two-parter. I feel like a lot of thru hikers and day hikers have luxury items that they tend to pack that falls outside of the essentials list. For some, it's candy or a snack. For others, it's camera equipment. For each of you, is there a luxury item that you tend to carry on your own personal hikes? And then is there a luxury item that you tend to carry on one of the ultimate hikes?
Yeah, I definitely have one. I always have my Nemo Philo camp pillow. I've gotten too old to be uncomfortable when I'm sleeping, so I don't do the rolled up clothes thing anymore. I haven't done that in a long time. And really, like, as I've gotten older and in better financial situations, I invest in a lot of ultralight gear just so I can carry more comfort items. It's not to be an ultralighter. It's just so I can afford the weight of comfy stuff.
For me, you just might find an abundance of snacks, all different varieties. I could open up my hiking backpack right now and you would be like, wow, you're carrying 5 pounds of snacks on you. Ironically, I don't eat a lot of snacks while I'm hiking, but I like to just know that they're there. And if I want to go for the protein bar, whatever it might be, I want to make sure I have it. So, and there's always a nerd's rope or two. I should really get them to sponsor us. This year at Texas, one of our hikers brought me a nerd's rope at the finish line because last year at the finish line, her and I finished together and we had nerd ropes. And so now I have hikers supplying me with nerd ropes too. So.
But that's really awesome that people are now bringing you the Nerds ropes.
Since we're on snacks, we have also a trail mix bar at every Ultimate Hike. And it is fully supplied with anything you might want to create for like a create your own trail mix. But my current favorite concoction that I've made that you will probably always find in my Ultimate Hike pack if I'm hiking is banana chips, chocolate Teddy Grahams, and peanuts with a little bit of yogurt raisins in there. It's very good. It's like a chocolate banana. Highly recommend.
Awesome. I love that idea. Make your own trail mix. That's awesome. Now, the last question, guys, before we jump into the this or that questions is another two-parter. For you personally, is there any hiking or travel goals for the remainder of 2024? And then any goals for the Ultimate Hike or CureSearch for 2024, or maybe beyond 2024 as well?
Yeah, I'll jump into that one. Like I'd mentioned earlier, volunteering for the PCT Ultimate Hike. I'm going to try to pull all the coaches to the side and be like, hey, who's not really feeling it? And how can I get on the trail? I've never hiked the PCT and would love to get a chance to get out there a little bit while I'm there volunteering and maybe help somebody out who's, who needs a break. And then also that fall Foothills Ultimate Hike in November. I've really wanted to get out to the Foothills Trail for a long time. So it's just an amazing opportunity to be able to do that and get on that trail.
This August, I will be backpacking in Glacier National Park, so I'm really looking forward to that. I have not been there. Me and a friend of mine will be spending a week there, so that's really high up there. And then I have been saying it for a few years, but really high on the list this year is hiking Guadalupe Peak and Guadalupe Mountain National Park in Texas. So it's our highest point, and I hope to summit it this year. Regarding Ultimate Hike, so last year we reached our 10 million ever raised milestone. So this year we're hoping to raise around $1.5 million to really impact childhood cancer research. And then in 2025, we're hoping to launch a new hike. So stay tuned because it'd be pretty epic.
Oh, looking forward to it. Thanks, guys, for sharing. We always like to end the episode with a fun game of this or that questions. They're all hiking related. And I'm just going to give you two topics, and you just choose which one you prefer out of the two. The first one is, when it comes to your day hikes, do you prefer a steep incline or a steep decline?
I'm going with incline all day long. Yeah, the knees hate the declines. I'll climb a mountain, and then if I can get it like a ride back down, that'd be great.
I'm going to go with steep incline, but usually it's whichever one I'm not doing. So when I'm going up, I really wish I was going down. And when I'm going down, I'm like, man.
I like that. Now, this one's a tough one, but when it comes to trail features, do you prefer a waterfall or a summit?
That's a super tough one. I got to go with a summit, though. Once you've made it up a hill or whatever and you got that nice scenic vista, it's just a good sense of accomplishment up there.
I think both. We might have gone back and forth about these questions the other day, and I was like, waterfalls at the top of a summit. Kris reminded me there's not too many of those, but there are a few. So, if I could choose that's what it would be. But I love a good waterfall, but I'm going to agree the summit for sure.
And then this next one is a trail system question. Do you prefer a trail with switchbacks, or would you rather just go straight up?
There's part of me that really loves the journey of a hike. And so there is some advantages to a switchback, but I get such a sense of accomplishment when I'm just cruising up a hill and, maybe I can find somebody to pass and try not to breathe real heavy as I pass them, hide the breath. But if I can choose, I'd avoid the switchback.
I think I'm a fan of the switchback until, you get to the top. I was just hiking in Shenandoah Valley National Park after our Shenandoah Valley hike. I went on a solo hike that Sunday, and they sometimes are never ending. You think that's the last one. So I like a good switchback until you're, almost to the top and you're like, dang it, some more.
I'm right there with you, Lauren. Maybe less than 50, but once you get over 50 switchbacks, I'd rather just take the straight up.
Exactly. They should switch back and then go straight up at the end. I think that's the way to do it.
I like that. Yeah. Now, this one is one of our more decisive ones, but do you guys rock trek poles, or do you prefer to be freehand on the trail?
I was freehand for years and never really got super comfortable with hiking poles. And a lot of it just has to do with I don't want them all the time, and so I keep them in my bag. I've always hiked with hiking poles that just never come out of my bag because I don't want to take my bag off. But I just found, I think they're Mr. Spuds. I got them off Garage Grown Gear. They're little hiking pole magnets, and so you got these little magnets that you put on your bag, and so your hiking poles are super easily accessible. So I've been using hiking poles more just because I don't have to take my bag off.
I am a huge trekking pole. Even when it's flat, I know it definitely helps my knees and my endurance. So I try to use anything really over like 5 or 6 miles. I'm going to use the Pulse.
Now, this one, I've seen a big change on our local trail systems here in the Pacific Northwest, but it's about footwear. Do you guys rock traditional hiking boots, or have you guys made the switch to trail runners?
So I was a hardcore hiking boot guy for a very long time. And then a friend of mine that I made, like she just finished about 8,000 miles worth of through hiking. She recommended some Topos to me, and they make a hiking shoe. It's not really a trail runner that's like designed for through hiking. So yeah, Topo Athletic Traverse, I've had those for probably almost a year now, and they're phenomenal shoes. It's like all the best parts put together in a single shoe. So yeah, I mean, it looks like trail runners, but they're a far cry from actual trail runners.
I'm a trail runner person too. As I've gotten older, my ankles really appreciate hiking boots, but I don't. My feet hate them. So like trail runners, Kris should get a sponsorship from Topo because he has transitioned me from ultras to Topos, and several hikers throughout the Ultimate Hike community are now rocking Topos too. So I highly recommend checking them out. Yeah. They are really, really phenomenal. So yep, my feet are very happy now.
I'll have to check them out too. This spring season, I've been going back and forth between my trail runners and hiking boots, and I just can't decide. Some give me blisters, some don't. Some might be the socks, but you got me interested in the Topos as well, Kris. You might have another convert.
Yeah, I'm telling you, the combo is the alpaca wool socks and then the Topos, and you're golden. It's a great combo.
Okay. Now, this next one is another trail system feature question, but do you prefer a loop trail or an out and back trail?
I'm definitely loop trail. I mean, an out and back definitely won't turn me away, but if I've got a choice, I want to do a loop and see something new through the entire trip.
I'm the same. Definitely a loop person.
And then this next one is about your water carrying system. Do you guys use traditional water bottles, or have you guys made it to the hydration packs, Camelback systems?
I was on the hydration bladders for a really long time, and then I found, I really enjoy these endurance events, and I found a product called Go Far from Infinite Nutrition, and it's like a drink mix, kind of like similar to like a Gatorade goo type of thing. It's really kind of made for ultra runners, and a serving size is 20 ounces. And so I've got some nice little 20-ounce bottles, and so I don't have to think. And so I switched to bottles purely just because I don't like to try to think when I'm hiking.
I carry a bladder, and it's my 3-liter bladder, and it's always full. So definitely carrying my water weight around, but I'm not going to be thirsty.
Now, these next two are probably our hardest ones, but do you guys prefer a sunset hike or a sunrise hike?
I got to go with sunset. There's something really special about the colors you get out of a sunset. And then the other piece is I don't like waking up early. I mean, I will if it's for hiking. Outside of that, like I'm definitely not hiking, definitely not waking up early. But yeah, if I can sleep in and hike and catch a sunset hike, I'm here for it. And then I also love night hiking, so it makes for a great halfway point. Watch the sunset and then go do some night hiking.
I also like sleep. I'm gonna say sunrise hikes because I've only been on a couple of them and they were phenomenal. I've seen many more sunsets because the time of day is much later, but definitely sunrise. There's something about watching the world come alive that's pretty magnificent, especially with a great view.
Now, this next one is spring wildflowers or fall colors.
I got to go with the wildflowers here. That's one of the great things about the Central Texas hike is, all the bluebonnets are out, the paintbrushes are out. Texas has some amazing wildflowers, and a lot of our trails here, the conservancies and nonprofits that support those trails really put, native wildflowers out on the trails. And so pretty much any of our well taken care of trails are just beautiful wildflowers in that season.
I'm going to say wildflowers too. We don't have fall foliage here. For anyone that hasn't been to Texas, it doesn't exist. So after I've hiked in New England in the fall, ask me again because I think I'll change my mind. But springtime in Texas is the rare time that it truly is like the best hiking weather, the best Everything about it is great, but our wildflowers are pretty phenomenal.
And this last one, I think I know the answer for both of you, but I might be surprised. But when it comes to day hikes, do you prefer a long, gradual hike or short and steep?
I'm going to go with long and steep.
I like that.
Yeah, type 2 fun is my jam. Yeah, if I'm going to get out hiking, like I want to know that I went hiking. So yeah, long and steep, I'm in for it.
I'm going to go with long and gradual.
That was it for the this or that questions, guys. Kris, I know that you're still fundraising for a couple of the upcoming events. If folks want to help your fundraising efforts, how can they support you and your events that you're participating in? And then for Lauren, if you can share the links one more time on where they can find more information about the Ultimate Hikes and CureSearch on social media and on the web.
Yeah, the easiest way to find me is probably Instagram. I went with Kris.hike, KRIS.hike. And so I post a lot about the fundraising there, and my fundraiser link is on there. And then also the links to other things that I'm doing, like Connect and Hike and pretty much anything else. Usually Instagram is where I am at.
CureSearch.org for any CureSearch organizational things, ways to get involved as a volunteer or other fundraising events. It'll also link you to ultimatehike.org, where you can find everything you need to know about our training program and all of the hikes we have throughout the country. And then on Instagram, we have CureSearch and Ultimate Hike for anyone that wants to follow us there.
For our listeners, please be sure to check out the episode show notes to click on all those links Lauren and Kris said throughout the episode. Lauren and Kris, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been really great learning about the Ultimate Hikes and what CureSearch is doing, and as well about your own personal hiking experiences. Really appreciate you coming on the podcast.
It's been really fun talking to you and love listening to your show. You're doing really good work, getting people out there and doing these, special one-offs to let people know about what's going on, more or less related to the hiking world, and I like it.
Thank you so much for having us, and we hope to see you on the trail with CureSearch sometime soon.
Definitely. The PCT one got me curious. Yeah, that one has my interest. Thank you once again to Lauren and Kris for joining us on the latest bonus episode of the Hikes and Mikes podcast. Be sure to check out the episode show notes to learn more about CureSearch and their ultimate hikes across the country. This episode is brought to you by Flip Socks. Whether you're on the trail, on the job, or in the yard, Flip Socks will keep Mother Nature out of your boots with their innovative nylon sleeve. You no longer need to worry about any annoying debris getting trapped in your boots during your hikes. Simply flip down the nylon sleeve over any boot to prevent Mother Nature from finding its way inside, keeping your feet comfortable all day long. To get your first pair, visit flipsockswithaz.com and enter promo code HikesMikes10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order. And for listeners who use the promo code at checkout, I'll be donating 100% of the Season 2 promo code proceeds to Big City Mountaineers, who provide transformative experiences through connections to nature that strengthen life skills and build community for youth and disinvested communities across the nation. So if you're tired of bits and pieces of the trail finding its way into your hiking boots, pick up a pair of Flip Socks today with the promo code HikesMikes10 to get 10% off. For website and promo code, see the episode description.